such as Baidu, innovative and forward-thinking, that a woman would have the opportunity to come this far. The catch is, the chance is there, but will you and can you take it?
Women made up a quarter of my class at university. I know our class fared especially well, but I know other groups where the women didn't end up sticking to engineering. It's a tough discipline that requires constantly keeping up to date, and social pressures and expectations on women are such that many end up doing something much easier.
In China, like many places around the world, a husband's career is still seen as more important than the wife's. Meng Chu acknowledges she's lucky for having a supportive husband, but admits that the long hours required of Baidu's research and development team deters many women. Mao Zedong once said that women hold up half the sky, but at many companies in China, that's not necessarily the case. What Baidu shows us is that of all places where women can find opportunity in China, it's in the fast-paced tech sector. Melissa Chan, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Well, elsewhere in Asia, women are marching and dancing in the streets on Tuesday to mark the centenary. In South Korea's capital, Seoul, a group gathered in flash mob style, performing a brief dance before dispersing. The organizers say they wanted to raise awareness of women's rights in a fun way. In the Philippines, thousands marched in the capital, Manila, calling for gender equality. They included so-called comfort women, Filipinos who were forced to work as sex slaves during World War II. And just a reminder, you can keep up to date with all the news on our website. That's aljazeera.net/English, aljazeera.net/English. 30 minutes past the hour, you're watching Al Jazeera. Here are the headlines. Libya's opposition council says it may consider not pursuing criminal charges against Colonel Muammar Gaddafi if he steps down. That came after Libyan state television denied reports that Gaddafi tried to strike a deal with the rebels that would make way for him to leave power. Gaddafi reportedly sent a representative to make a proposal to the opposition's so-called National Council based in Benghazi. It said he wanted guarantees for his safety and immunity from prosecution. Well, the council apparently rejected the offer. President Barack Obama says Washington and its allies are still considering a military response to the crisis in Libya. Gulf Arab leaders have called for a UN-enforced no-fly zone. Shia Muslims in Bahrain have been staging more protests against the country's Sunni royal family. But on Monday, the protesters also focused their protests against the United States. Around 200 Shia protesters held a rally outside the U.S. Embassy demanding Washington ends its support for the monarchy. Protesters have been camping at Manama's Pearl Roundabout since last month, but they've only won minor concessions. In Kuwait, too, youth groups are calling for protests on Tuesday. As in previous protests, they want the Prime Minister to step down and greater freedoms nationwide. The Al Sabah family has ruled the small Gulf state for over 250 years. Political parties are not allowed there, and neither is the planned demonstration, which has not gained permission from the government. To Pakistan, where a car bomb has killed at least 20 people and left more than 100 injured. The blast happened in the country's eastern city of Faisalabad. Al Jazeera's Kamal Haidar says a gas station was nearby.
There were many people near that station who were at a courier office. They were collecting their passports. They would be receiving their visas. An airline office as well, which has gone down, at least a section of it has gone down. Many of the people are still trapped under the debris, and rescue efforts are still underway.
Well, 18 people have been killed in a shootout in Mexico. Rival drug gangs fighting a turf war in the town of Abasolo in Tamaulipas state are being blamed. The border state is a major transit point for drug smuggling into the United States. In Côte d'Ivoire, opposition fighters have reportedly seized the town of Toulepleu, previously held by troops backing incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo. We'll have an Al Jazeera News Hour. That's at the top of the hour. For now, it's Birthright.
Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Every year, thousands of women come through the doors of the Fistula Hospital. This specialist centre treats a debilitating childbirth injury that affects more than 2 million women worldwide. The challenge each day is to restore hope and dignity to women who thought they'd lost everything.
For such patients, the outcome usually not good.
Come on, my special.
One of the most challenging patients at the Fistula Hospital is 22-year-old Azrabab.
She came to us about 2 years ago now, and she was in a terrible plight. She was on, her mother carried her through the gate. Her knees were literally under her chin. She had been curled up in the fetal position for so long on the floor.
In fact, Azrabab had not moved for 7 years.
That is this one. And this is really completely ankylosed. This one is better. This one, Turina?
አላውቀውም የጋን ጊዜ በጣም ደካማ ነበርኩኝ ራሱ ሰውነቴ ሁላ ፍጅት ተውሏል ደካማ ነበር አላየኋቸውም አላስተውላቸውም ደካማ ነው አሁን ነው ማስተዋል የጀመርኩኝ አሁን 2 ዓመት በኋላ እንጂ ሰው አለኝ
Like many girls in rural Ethiopia, Azrabab married at puberty and soon found herself pregnant.
እርጉዝነው ራሱ ክብድ ብሎ እንዳለ በጣም እንትን ብሎኝ ነበር መሄድ እያቃተኝ ነበር ሆስፒታል እንደዚህ አዲስ አበባ አውቅም አልተሰማኝም
And she was a young girl when she started labour. She was 14, and she had an obstructed labour which lasted 3 or 4 days, and she delivered a stillborn baby eventually. Then this little girl found that she was pouring urine, pouring faeces into the bed, and her plight was so desperate. She was very ill. She lay in a little hut with her mother helping her on the floor, a mat on the floor.
ትዝም ይለኝ ነገር የለም ግን እግዚአብሔር የለቅ አንዱ ሀርገ ፍትፈጥራይ ወይስ ለምን ፈጠርከኝ እንደዚህ አርገህ አሶበተ አው ለምን ያረግልህ አለኝ ምኝታ እንደዚህ ሊተቀን ምን አርጌ ነው ያልኩ ነው ለምን እንጂ
It was difficult for Azrabab's family to help her cope with the shame and isolation. Eventually, her mother heard that if she could get Azrabab to the Fistula Hospital, she might be cured.
She was completely stiff, her joints had become ankylosed, her